Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Andrew. I am a vintage reseller and collector specializing in mid-century decor, specifically holiday, as you can see behind me. Glassware, linens, textiles, knickknacks, anything from the 40s through the 70s, and every once in a while we'll throw in something new in there. Today is the day we are doing the Easter tour, and I'm going to tell you, Easter threw up in my house this year. I went above and beyond. I think it's a little bit more than even Christmas to some degree. But the entire living room, dining room is filled to the brim with Easter. So we're going to go around, take a look at everything, and I'm going to show you my Easter collection. Well, we might as well start off with what you guys have been seeing behind me, this Easter buffet of amazingness with the inflatable rabbit collection. There's just so much good stuff. I'm going to start over here towards the front of the buffet and show you guys some of the little items. Full disclaimer, most of the Rosborough Rosins items came from the Christmas Hoarder. We did a haul tote on those. I'm not sure if it's going to come out before or after this video, but a lot of these guys that you see here were part of his collection, and I just absolutely adored them and added them to my collection. I have two of these guys. I've decided to put one on either side, but my favorite thing on this buffet is the vintage inflatable rabbit collection. And I won't let in a little secret. I have a big blue one like this guy. He has a hole in it, so I'm trying to find another one. And this guy keeps losing a little air here and there, so I got to figure out where his hole is and repair it. Yes, I have repaired a couple of these over the years, and they've held up pretty well. So I'm going to work on those this week. But with further ado, let's look down here. So, picked up this guy this year, I believe. This I picked up at the auction, and there's some Easter grass in there. I gotta be honest with you, I was channeling Jason and Tina when I picked this up because they love the styrofoam creations, and I just loved it, and I thought it's gotta live in my Easter display. But lots of really cool things. I have a pair of these Holt Howard candle holders. You'll see the other one over there. But I used the old Easter boxes to elevate things. Used the old Easter baskets and filled them with things. With the paper mache eggs, the foil eggs. Here's my other Holt Howard person. And then this year I added all the plastic Rosborough Easter stuff and the Rosen. Knickerbocker too, I should say. There's some Knickerbocker mixed in. He had all this in a couple totes in a storage unit. So we're going to go over here to this buffet. These wooden create guys here and here, I have a couple of them. They're new this year. Actually, Garden Guy Bill bought a couple from my booth over at Bedford Street. I picked up this trio of Easter bunnies this year, and then also picked up this planter in Estate. Now, it needs a little touch-up paint, but we'll get to that. I have one of my boxes here that was created by my friend Amanda over at Modulation Designs. She does not do the Easter boxes anymore, so I feel pretty privileged to have a handful of those. Maybe she'll start again, but for now she doesn't. I have this old guy in the cart. But this is a new piece I got in an estate sale this year, this egg candy box. This guy came from the Christmas Hoarder. This came from my friend Diane. She had it at her booth. This little lady needs turned around. And this little celluloid piece that came from the Christmas Hoarder as well. But, and here's another box from my friend Amanda. And I really love this guy here with the little Easter egg color paints. I picked that up a couple years ago. And then way over here in the corner is this cute little bunny lantern. So definitely some neat pieces. I love this. I know they made that in multiple colors, so if I ever run across another one, I'll probably pick it up. But this I felt like is my more muted display. I decided to add these dollar store eggs into my whole vase there to give it some color back there. So on the table here, I pretty much for Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, and Easter, I use my collection of milk glass swung vases, and I always add in different things. For the Easter, I use these plastic, fantastic 1960s artificial flowers. I picked them up at an estate a couple years ago, and I always display everything in this tray. And so I have, well, we'll start over here. I have my milk glass candle holders. I use these for Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day as well. And I put some of these alabaster eggs in. So there's some over here and then over there, as you can see. But I put some really cute things in here. I have these chicks. There's a pair of them, a his and hers. These little Easter angels. There's a boy and a girl with some left-in lambs. This guy back here is new to me. He's from the Christmas Hoarders collection. And then, of course, these guys. I absolutely love these. They're some of my favorites. These pink bunny salt and pepper shakers. And I actually picked up these little nut cup basket arrangements a couple of years ago. I think they're just great. And then I have the boy angel back here. And I always break out a vintage tablecloth. And I got this one a couple of years ago. And I love the little mushrooms and the spring foliage on it. And I think it's just perfect for Easter. It just has that spring vibe to it. So that's on there as well. So we're going to go over here and take a look at the other hutch. So this is my Murano Flamingo hutch here. And up at the top, I always put my collection of chicks and ducks. And most of these were my grannies. A couple I've added in here over the years. And then I have this guy here, which I love. But, yeah, I always put the chicks and the ducks up here. And they're super cute. Like I said, they have a little bit of sentimental value. And then down here, I'm going to say most of this along this ledge came from the Christmas Hoarder, with the exception of the two planters and the bunny pixie that you'll see. But this was all, like I said, in a storage unit, and they were going to chuck it. And I said, no, I want it. I love this giant Knickerbocker bunny with the baby carriage, and I put my old bunny pixie in there. And I did have, I believe I had this before, and then, of course, this planter, and then two of these guys here before. But I kept these milk glass plates. I thought they were great. And then the Knickerbocker bunnies. So, super nice. And I'm really happy with how everything turned out. I got into collecting some of these stuffed bunnies. And I got a couple this year. One or two came from the Christmas Hoarder. This one here has the ice skates on, which I love. I picked that up at an antique store a couple of years ago before they got super popular. But as you can see, there's these two guys. And on the table, I did something very simple. This I bought at the auction a couple years ago. I actually got two of them. So I have one on this table, one on the kitchen table. This I got in an estate a couple years ago. It's an older one. And I love this dish here. And I've always displayed my ceramic alabaster eggs there. I love the speckled ones. So, but the train here. So, all these guys came from the Christmas Hoarder here. And I was down at the Black Swan Antiques, and in one of the display cases was the locomotive. And this apparently is a very hard piece to find. So I decided to pair it with this, and I just think it's a really cute thing for on the coffee table to see all the different bunnies with all the umbrellas and everything. So I picked that up. Over here, I just have a very simple tray with a little mug and basket. Okay, this is where the fun really starts. So, this I had here. This is one of my favorite things that was in those totes, was this little car with the waving couple. But this was all part of the estate, except for the planner that I had. And the wind-up bunnies was mine, but just, this was all part of the estate. And then we get to these planners and this chick. I had that, but just absolutely amazing collection. There's this little guy here. And I went through and I did thin out some of the duplicates. So they went on to online. So if anybody's interested, they're on there. Before we get to that, down here, I did some Easter grass with some of the paper mache eggs, the foil eggs, and then there's these tin eggs that are music boxes, one there, and then one here. So, on the mantle, these are my collection of left-in bunnies, as well as other things. So there's some larger ones and regular size ones, and I mixed them in with these Dollar Tree Easter trees. So I was very happy with that. Did these little arrangements here. And then the laughing bunnies, I love those. And then down. And the left-in rabbit trinket box. But I just kept it very simple. Most of these rabbits, I'll be honest with you, were my granny's as well, so that's why I have them up here. And then on the mirror, I have to showcase this. This I used to hang on the front door. This I bought off of eBay, I think, a couple of years ago. And it has all this kitsch. This wreath is amazing. But I was really worried about the weather and things starting to fall off, so I decided to hang it on here this year. And then I, of course, put the cardboard cutouts, honeycombs, right below it. So, looks really good there. And then some more explosion of kitsch. So we'll start up here. I bought this at Bedford Street a couple weeks ago from one of my vendor friends, and I absolutely love it. I couldn't scoop it up fast enough. And this came from the Christmas Hoarder, this tree. It's perfect for Easter, I think. But I just went to town on here with all these different plastic items mixed in with my planners. My bunny pixie. I have one there. One over there. And then we'll get to the other one. But I used some of these old Easter boxes for displays. And just mixed in all this cuteness. And this little bunny pixie there. And this laughing bunny here. I love him. And this is part of having a collection. Like, you kind of build it as it comes. You kind of piece it together as it comes. And just grow it over time. And I always tell people, you kind of get to the point where there's certain things as you add in, other things you might take out, you might replace, but it's always a good time. So just have fun with it. Don't put yourself into a huge amount of debt, and things will come to you as you find them. So this is the table by the front door. Again, I used some of the plastic fantastic flowers there to fill in. And then, you know, did some planners with some alabaster eggs. This is one of the first pieces I ever got, and one of my favorites, this little planner. I really, really love it. And then I have two more boxes here from my friend Amanda, this large one. And then this little guy here. And this is another one of my favorite pieces. But I got this crazy metal bunny here. Some of these old paper mache bunnies. They're not in the best shape, but, you know, neither am I. So I still love them. This little gobble bunny. I love the color combination of the green and purple. That little blow mold bunny. This guy came from the Christmas Hoarder, and I actually found the flowers right next to it, so I picked that up. And this little lady here at the end of our tour came from my friend Karen at Hippie Chicks Antiques. I bought a couple of them. I think I have one for St. Patrick's, Valentine's Day, Easter, but I just thought she was so cute. So, again, I had fun with it. I mixed a lot of things in. Enjoyed it. So let's go back over to the table and we'll finish up the video here. All right. Well, I hope you guys all enjoyed the tour of the Easter decor around the house. One thing I did want to touch base on before we wrap the video up is I got a lot of questions of how did you find all this stuff? How long have you been collecting? You know, how do I start collecting? And I thought now's a good time to kind of talk about that. So, I have been collecting, I'm going to say, since I was a kid. I'm 42 years old, and I've been collecting since I was probably 5. I was fortunate that I had grandparents who encouraged me to collect, and a grandmother who stored stuff for me when I wasn't allowed to take things home. So, but I really started collecting probably about 20 years ago when I had my own space and my own home and could do, you know, decorate it the way I wanted to decorate it. So I always tell people, you know, you might find something out in the wild that kind of starts the collection, but with holiday stuff, go into your local antique malls and get an idea of what they have. And don't be afraid to check the prices on stuff and say, is this a good deal? Am I paying a fair price? I always look at eBay sold comps for comparing prices because that's live market pricing. And, you know, if I go into an antique store and I see something that I like to add to my collection, I always look and see, is this a good price? Am I paying what it's selling for, or is it priced at 2 times what it's selling for? If it's a good price, I pick it up. Now, as a seller in an antique mall and in a retail building, I try to price my things in my booth a little bit lower than what they would sell for on eBay. Because I always have the mentality of, if you don't price it that way, what's going to make people come into the mall and shop and spend money locally versus sitting at home on the sofa, pulling up eBay and having it just shipped to your house? Some dealers will put the price, if it sells for $15 on eBay, they'll put $15, you know, on it, and that's fine. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, but I always like to try to put it a little bit lower to encourage people to come in and shop locally. Because in all honesty, as an eBay seller, you're paying fees, so it makes sense to try to sell it locally because you're not paying a fee, you're just paying rent. But the other thing too is, if you want to shop on eBay, don't be afraid to look at completed listings to see what similar items have sold for. And if a seller has, you know, an option like I do, like best offer, make them an offer. Don't insult them, but make them a reasonable offer that says, hey, you know, I like this. And that's what I've done over the years. I've bought in antique stores. I've bought online. I have to say, the Rosen, the Rosboro plastics, I lucked out with the Christmas hoarder. And that happens to people. You know, it happens to people all the time where they luck out and you go to a yard sale or estate sale and you can buy a bunch of stuff that you really like and care for. So it's out there. So don't be afraid to look for it. But I always like to tell people, like, it does take time to get to a larger collection like this. It takes time to put it out. It takes time to store it. It also gets a little bit more complicated to figure out what you don't and don't have. So I always like, and this is something I do and I always recommend it, is before you put it all away, take pictures of how you have it set up. 1, so you know what you have and you don't have. And 2, when you put it back up the next year, you know how it kind of goes. So every once in a while, though, I'll switch it up. I'll change it up like I did back here. But I still have the pictures so I can say, oh, okay, this is how I did it last year. Do I like it that way, or do I want to change it up? So I encourage people, get out there, start collecting, buy a couple pieces, set yourself a budget. You know, don't think you have to go out and max out your credit card and buy a ton of stuff. I started small, and I always tell people, start small with 1 or 2 pieces and just add to it as you find it. Don't be afraid to buy things out of season. So I buy Christmas stuff. I buy holiday stuff all year round. I don't care if it's July and I'm buying Christmas stuff, or October and I'm buying Easter stuff. If I see it and it's a good price and I know I want it for my collection, do it. Buy it, pick it up, and just keep a little bin somewhere that you store it in, and then add it to the collection as you go by. So, and utilize things that you have. Like I have my white vases right here in front of me. I use those for a lot of things. I use some of the Easter boxes that I found things in the store. I use them as risers. Easter grass, I use that a lot to fill in stuff. So it's all, you know, it's what you can afford and how you use it. So have fun with it, enjoy it. And before I finish the video out, if you like the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. That's always great. Let me know what your favorite thing was. If you have any questions about anything, shoot me an email. Also, and this is the most important thing, if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. We're at about 1,200 subscribers, and I'm really shooting to get it up there. So it doesn't cost you anything. It helps me out, and it lets you know when new videos are coming out. So hit that subscribe button and support the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed my little tour of Easter. Have a happy Easter. We'll see you on the next one.